remember when Michael Bloomberg was mayor, and you also served during that time as well. How was the whole implementation of when Michael Bloomberg tried putting those limits on soda bottles, and how did the New York City Council deal with that?
You would think that what Michael Bloomberg proposed was the end of the world. It was not. What Michael Bloomberg proposed was to limit the big gulp cups of soda, really, or when you go to a movie house. And he didn't say you couldn't have all the soda you wanted. He said the size of the soda had to be reduced, so you would not have these big gulps. And he believed, as I do, that these large sugar-laden drinks contribute to many health issues in the city. Implemented it as an administrative measure, never went to the city council. And the soda industry brought a lawsuit saying that Michael Bloomberg exceeded his authority, that he could not implement it by an administrative rule, that it had to go to the city council for a vote. And because of all the opposition, the city council took no action on the measure. I had people in my own district coming to me, and you could tell that they had one too many soda, or maybe one too many servings of French fries. And they're yelling at me, I want to have as much soda as I want. How dare you think that you're going to limit my soda? And, and I used to tell them, you could have diet soda, you could have a diet Snapple, you could have water, you could have seltzer. I'm looking to protect your health. And although the Bloomberg proposal did have some major flaws in it, it did not impact Starbucks, for example, and Dunkin' Donuts, the coffees. And if you go to those places, you know how sugar-laden those coffees can be. So It really was not all-inclusive. But I thought that we had to do something and start somewhere. So I was open to considering it, but I got a lot of flack from people on that, and I think so did my colleagues, and therefore the council did nothing. I think it's a loss for our city that we're not addressing obesity in some meaningful way. People would say, Jimmy, I don't need a big brother. Well, sometimes I think you do need a big brother to try to help you. You may not want to help yourself. And you may say, I'll diet tomorrow. I've heard that. I'll diet tomorrow.
That's what everyone says.
Diet tomorrow. Meanwhile, they're sitting at a diner with waffle fries. So no, tomorrow's today. And you have to make a new leaf to safeguard your future.
Speaking of lobbyists, and you were bringing that up earlier, I guess now we live in a much more, populist era in both like the right and the left on sides of either party. And where do you see the Democratic Party going in terms of in the future, since we live in a more populist time now and everyone is rising up and saying that, we want to get rid of all those lobbyists and corporate PAC money that's infiltrating our government?
Well, the populist talk, getting rid of all the special interest and getting rid of the specialist interest money, it sounds very good. However, there are Supreme Court decisions which have prevented that from happening over the years. So the question is, the question is not what do I prefer happen? The question is what can legally be done in light of the Supreme Court decisions. Where do I see the Democratic Party going? I see the Democratic Party going more to the left, and I see the Republican Party going more to the right. And what that means is that the average person, I've always said, is somewhere here, is somewhere in the middle. They have portions of each philosophy that they agree with. So they're stuck. They're stuck in the middle. I do think, though, that there is a real concern in the country about where we're going. I think people are upset with housing prices and grocery prices and the future for their children and the next generation having a good future. So I do think that our elected officials have to address that, not with rhetoric, but with plans. We just can't be attacking each other. We have to come out with what do we propose that's meaningful, that's rational, that can pass. What's a solution? I was in the city council for 12 years, as you said, and many times legislators would introduce bills, and they knew that those bills were not going to pass. But it makes good consumption back home that you introduced a bill. I think we have to get down to business. How do we pass legislation? How do we get things done? And the only way to do that is to come together. The only way is to go into a room and get these things hashed out and to involve people with different viewpoints in the room so that there is a middle ground that is staked out that will get results. And we see less and less of that. You know, it was said Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, the late speaker, the late president, did not agree on many things philosophically, but they would talk it out, sometimes over a drink at night, and then they come back and say, you know what, I can live with this, and I think you can live with that. And there was a meeting of the minds. That really doesn't happen today, and the rhetoric becomes very divisive. On X, some things are said, which I think, in retrospect, some people may regret the harshness of what they say. But when you say something, you've said it. That's the problem, too. That's the problem with responding like this on social media. That's the problem with saying things that maybe later you realize you would hope you would not have said.